to put a companion tube along here. One way to do that, a couple different ways to do that. One way to do that is just to go down here to subtool, and we'll go ahead and say duplicate this off. And you can say, I'm going to polygroup this poly loop here. Oh, actually, you know what? It's going to loop around here. So what we're going to do is we're going to say another group by normals. And I'm just going to isolate this one on my duplicate. Delete hidden. And even this one here, I don't, we'll leave the lump in there. Why not? Let's say it'll interact with that a little bit. So again, now we're going to go to polygroup poly. We're going to take this one, and then I'm just tapping and tapping Alt to get two different ones. Isolate that, Control Shift Delete, or Control Shift, isolate that one, delete hidden. Stroke, curve functions, polygroups. You know what? And even just because it's so simple, let's go back to our cylinder here. Let's go down here to initialize. Let's make this really simple. So we're going to say 8, 4. Very, very simple. Make polymesh 3D. I'm going to go through here. If you wanted to make it a tripart brush, it would just be insert multiple edge loops. Hold down Control Shift. Let's grab this one here. Grab this one here. Hit Control W. Now we got 3 pieces. Let's make these a little bit more even. Brush. Create insert mesh. New. Now it's an insert mesh brush. But if you go up here to stroke, curve functions, curve mode, and then we go over here to brush. And we go over here to modifiers. We're going to say, yeah, you're a tripart brush. We'll weld your points. You can try and stretch if you want to. And now you got a little brush here. So now we can go back to what we were working on. And because we framed that polygroup here, we can just tap on here, and then I'll go ahead and put that curve right along there. We can tap off to delete that curve, or you can go to your stroke settings, and you can say curve functions, curve modifiers. Delete is somewhere in here. There it is, delete. So now we've got that. Let's go ahead and do a split mask points. And you can keep this thing around if you want to. If you don't need it anymore, you just delete it. And now you can go through here and you can like wrap this thing around. Now if your size, dynamic size isn't going big enough, you can go into, you can turn dynamic off if you want to, but I like to keep that on. But I will go into preferences and draw. Yeah, draw. Max brush size, you can crank that up to 5,000. So now I can go up to 5,000, or even better, you can say you can keep this at 1,000, and you can do the multiplier, dynamic brush scale. We can put that up to like 5. So now when I go to 1,000, it actually goes to like 5,000. So you can play with that there. So anyway, go through here and you can like wrap this thing around and however you want to do it. So now let's say this does wrap around my object. But in order to have a wire wrap around an object, sometimes you want to go in there and you want to put like a little tab in there to kind of keep these things together. So one thing I'm going to do, number one, this one is actually fairly low res. So I'm going to add a little bit of resolution to that one a little bit. Oh, you can also, I forgot to say, when you're in your curve, you can go in here to your curve modify, curve functions, and then do a smooth. That's you can see the hotkey is 6. It'll smooth that curve out for you. But you can do it after the fact as well. I'm going to group by normals, and then I'm going to go over here to our deformation, polish by features, and you can just polish by features, and it'll smooth it out. And if you're like, well, actually, let's do this. This will be a little bit cleaner. So group by normals, isolate that, geometry modify topology, delete hidden. Now let's see if we can do a polish by features. It still shrinks. Okay, polish by features open circles will really, it doesn't maintain the form, but it does smooth it out better. So we'll do open circle. And then you might be saying, well, I'm losing, and all you have to do is just tap it. I'm losing my thickness on my curve. That's okay. All you got to do is go back in here again, QMesh, polygroup all, and then just hold down shift and just inflate it along that surface normal. So this one here, let's go ahead and say, let's hit divide. And then we're going to, we can just divide it and that's fine. But what we can do now is we can duplicate this off, and then we can delete lower. And actually, you know what, now that I think about it, let's not do a divide. Let's do a dynamic. We'll just turn on dynamic. And then when we duplicate it off, we divided it just so I get some more curvature on there. I can steal a little bit more geometry. In fact, let's hit divide one more time, delete lower. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to borrow some of this geometry to make a little loop over this thing. So what I'm going to do is hover over this one here, and we're going to do a polygroup, poly loop here, and then I can isolate this, and then we can do like a Q mesh polygroup all. Now, if this is too much geometry for you, you can go into ZRemesher, depth size down to 0.5. That'll simplify it for you, like so. And you know, you can just take this and like pull it off. But what you can also do, if you wanted to loop over this thing, you can go into transparency mode. You can see you know, where this tube is going to cross, and honestly, ideally, your tube is going to follow this a little bit, because realistically, that's what it would have to do. If you're going to do something like, go back here, and you're going to take maybe this one, and you know what, let's do this. Let's say we can zero mesh that to make it simpler, or I'm just going to Q mesh this down a little bit. So when we do this one, I can say, let's get rid of this. We'll go insert, single edge loop, get rid of that. I'm just going to bridge these two. So I'm going to hover over this one, and we're going to say bridge, connected polys, circle, specified curvature. We want it a perfect circle, resolution of 8, align it to the normal, triangle sides, and then now we can just pop a little circle in there. We'll do another group by normals. And then now, this thing, if we do a crease and dynamic and crease level of 3, so instead of a 4, if it gives you any problems like that, it shouldn't. But you can always go in here and see if you can weld those points. There you go. So geometry modified topology weld. And then this one will have D turned on. So now you can have this thing kind of go through that little companion piece there.